Hi, it's the middle of March. Spring's been thinking about putting in an appearance, but not today. A bit damp and miserable, but it's that time of year when gardeners are planning ahead. They're thinking about what seeds they're going to plant, what plants they're going to grow, and it might be time to go to the garden centre to stock up, to buy some seeds and whatnot, and probably a sack or two of compost. Do be quiet, Jeffrey. Apologies for my turkey, he's a noisy blighter. So, I'd like to talk to you about that compost. So, you may or may not be aware, many people strangely aren't aware that most composts on sale in garden centres contain peat. Why is that an issue, you might wonder? Well, it's an issue because peat is ripped out of the ground to go into those sacks of compost. Peat's a natural, beautiful material. Rich black organic stuff laid down. It's actually unrotted bits of vegetation, grass and moss, which is created in places where the soils are waterlogged, and as the plant material sinks into the ground, oxygen can't get to it, so it degrades very, very slowly, and it builds up over time, about 1 millimetre a year, so pretty slowly. But some of our peat bogs have been building up since the last ice age, 10,000 years ago. So you get these beautiful thick layers of this magical substance, peat, which is a huge store of carbon. And also peat bogs can be fantastic places for wildlife. You get all sorts of interesting rare plants and animals living there, things like sundews, these carnivorous plants. It's an internationally rare habitat, and yet we dig it up, destroy the habitat, and rip this carbon store. It's essentially, if you like, it's a fossil fuel. We rip it out of the ground, and we use it to grow ornamental flowers and vegetables and so on, which is not really, I love my plants, but it's not the most important thing in the world. And most importantly, there are perfectly good peat-free alternatives. So, it's pretty obvious where I'm going with this. Please don't buy compost containing peat. Buy the peat-free ones. So I'm going to take you on a quick tour of my local garden centres just to illustrate the point that the majority of composts I think on sale are peat-based, and it's something we really need to change. Okay, come with me. So here we are. This is Tesco's. They've only got one brand of compost. You can see it here. It's 50% peat, so don't buy your compost at Tesco's. What about this place near Haywards Heath, up the country? Haven't been here for ages, no idea what compost they sell. Let's go and have a look. So, 11 different composts here, and one of them is peat-free. Most of them you wouldn't know they had peat in them. You have to look really closely on the back to see any. Usually they have some kind of indicator here. Where we are, peat content, look. But it's not exactly obvious, is it? You've got to look carefully. But basically, unless it says in big letters that it's peat-free, which this New Horizon stuff is, then basically it'll have peat. And don't buy it, please. Something else to be aware of is not just sacks of compost, but also grow bags usually have tons of peat in them. This stuff says on the back in tiny letters that it has peat in it. It's probably 50% or more peat, so this great pile here is hundreds of kilos of peat ripped out of the ground. So, what about Homebase? Enormous DIY chain. This is quite a small one. This is in Lewes in East Sussex. Let's go and see what they've got. Is it peat-free? Well, I've looked and I can't see any mention of what's in it, which isn't very helpful, but when I get home I'm going to look it up. I would bet my $5 has got loads of peat in it, but I'll let you know. This is my local garden centre, Staverton's. It's an independent, really nice little place. I like it a lot. Let's see what they've got. Oh dear, we're off to a bad start. They've got a huge display, but nearly all of it's peat based. I think there might be some peat free at the other end, but look at this, giant sacks of peat ripped straight out of the Irish peat bogs. Massive store of carbon. all going to go up into the atmosphere soon enough just so we can grow a few pretty plants. Bloody disgraceful. Let's see what else there is. Hooray, some peat-free compost, silver grey, great stuff, award-winning. And also some New Horizon, which says it's organic and naturally peat-free. So that's 2 out of, well, let's just say a lot of other composts, all of them full of peat apart from those 2, but at least they got some peat-free. So, most of the compost on sale in garden centres is peat-based. It doesn't always say so very obviously, but it is. Some garden centres only sell peat-based composts. Some, if you're lucky, you have a whole range of peat-based composts and 1 or 2 peat-frees. What can we do? You can sign the petition. I'll put it along the bottom of the screen here. So it's a petition to government to make them debate this issue. Whether that will do any good, I don't know. The government said we would phase out peat-based compost by 2020 through a voluntary agreement, whatever that means, well, it hasn't happened. So what we need to do is not buy the darn stuff. If we don't buy it, then the shops won't sell it. So make sure you only buy peat-free compost. It usually says so in big obvious letters on the packet if it is peat-free. Also, when you're buying plants from the garden centre, ask them if they've been reared in peat, if you're feeling sufficiently militant, and if they have, say you're not going to buy them because of that, and then the garden centres will get the idea. If your garden centre doesn't sell compost that's peat-free, ask them why not. Say you're not going to buy any today, you're going to go to a shop down the road that does sell it because they're not selling peat-free compost, and then they'll get the idea. If enough people do this, then we can change what's happening. If enough people do it, we can change the world. So get behind this. It really is important. You know, we've got to stop ripping peat out of the ground. So let's all join together and make it happen. Thank you.